our regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Boynton,
Here.
Mrs. Macklin,
Here.
Mr. Akins, Mrs. Turner Birch, Mrs. Carter.
Here. We all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Visitors are always welcome at our board meeting. If you wish to address the board, please complete the form provided upon arrival at the meeting and give it to the treasurer. Oral presentations are limited to 3 minutes each so that the meeting may proceed uninterrupted. Please silence all devices.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. On our agenda is our item number 2, which is 2.01, which is acknowledgements of our goals. We ask that you read those at your leisure. Next on the agenda is item number 3, which is our award presentation and communication. It will be 3.01, where we will have a presentation from our athletic director. Mr. Commander.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Formal introductions for anyone who is new, and I am too this year. My name is J.C. Commander, and I am the Director of Athletics. So I oversee athletics K-12, but as you can see by this title slide, I really have a ton of help. So what I try to do is go through and kind of give updates how we do after, I guess, a close.
JC, is your mic on?
Oh. Is it on?
Yeah,
Is this better?
No.
probably for online. Use your coaching voice.
Okay, I got you. I can do that. I think this will
That's
be
better
better.
now.
Is this one?
That's even better.
All right.
Oh, that's.
Sorry. My name is J.C. Commander, and I am the Director of Athletics here in District. I oversee athletics K-12, but as you can see by this title slide, I do have plenty of help, starting with Assistant Director. I call him the most popular man in Bedford. Walked these halls, graduated from these halls, and now works these halls. Mr. Dan Brinson II, who is not here, but he's on his way, I believe. And then also our Department Secretary, Ms. Heather Lee. So I am going to push on through here and give you kind of an update on how we did for the winter. So starting with the Lady Bearcat basketball program. 23 total student athletes in the program, comprised of 2 teams, JV and varsity. Head coach Jeff Green. Obviously our record indicates that we have some work to do, but definitely there were some bright spots over the course of the season. We had 3 student athletes make the all-conference teams. Sanaa Flowers-Payne, 3rd team, Kaylin Shaw, 2nd team, and India Woodson, 1st team, who, India, for those of you who know her, she's no stranger to being all-conference. She was also all-conference for the volleyball program as well. At the end of the season, we had 9 of the kids in the program maintain their academic All-American status. For those of you that do not know what that is, what we do is we kind of created a status or a team per se, kind of as a way to motivate our student athletes, where if they have a 3.0 GPA or better, we kind of name them academic All-Americans. And what that also guarantees them is free entrance into any contest where we charge. So the overall team GPA at the end of the season was a 2.8. Synopsis of the year. Pretty simple, we're losing 3 seniors, but 2 of the all-conference players that you see up there will be returning because they were juniors. Obviously in the off-season, we want to get into the gym, obviously develop skill, and also get the ladies in the weight room. I believe that that is an important part of any athletic program. Moving forward here. Oops. All right, our boys basketball program, comprised of 40 total student athletes. Sorry, I should have, that is an error on my part, sorry. We did have a freshman AJB and a varsity program. Overall record for the varsity team, 11 wins, 13 losses, took 5th in the league. We play in a very competitive basketball league. The Lake Erie League has some very good competition in it. So, but I was pleased to see that there was improvement from the team from last season to this season. Out of those 40 students, 10 of them were postseason academic All-Americans, meaning the 3.0 GPA or better. Overall team GPA of 2.5. We're going to lose 6 seniors, but we had 3 all-conference performers, those being Cam Bybee, Terrell Pollard, and Javon Hudson. 2 of those 3 will return, so very excited to see what's going to happen. Also, pleased to say that this year the boys won their first, not first as in the history of the program, but won their initial sectional playoff game before eventually heading to Medina and falling to the Bees. So, but overall, definitely a stronger year for our boys. Kind of, the goals for this program are pretty similar. We want to get them into the weight room, get them strength and conditioning, obviously develop skill, summer leagues, which is also the goal for our girls too, and then getting them into showcases and things of that nature. So, already got plans underway for them. All right, our wrestling program, total of 12 student athletes, only a boys team, but for those of you that do not follow, girls wrestling has become a very big thing here in the States. So we're looking to get girls onto the mat and get a girls program fired up. So that's amongst the things that I'm trying to do in the off season. 3-6 record for Coach Hoon's group in their dual meets, but again, if you look at some of those accolades for the year, Tristan Jackson, a sophomore, Philip Malone, a senior, both qualified for the OHSA state tournament. That was run down at none other than the Ohio State University. Neither one made the podium, but Tristan will definitely be back next year. And I like to tell this story about Philip, even though he does not like to hear it. Philip started the year ineligible, meaning he was in trouble grade-wise. And he stuck with it, kept coming to practice. Coach Hoon stayed with him. He made himself eligible. And then to go from not being able to wrestle to the state tournament, I think that says a lot about our program. It says a lot about our head coach. It says a lot about Philip in general. So definitely something that I'm proud of, but he gets mad at me whenever I bring it up. So I'll move on here. Team synopsis, again, plenty of young talent coming back. Again, Tristan is a sophomore, but we also had a lot of other young kids waiting in the wings who I think are going to be tremendous, who I think are going to be tremendous wrestlers for us. In terms of our goals, again, strength and conditioning, you see a common theme there for what we want to do. And then skill development, getting open mat kind of going over the summer is going to be a big deal for us. So I think, again, that's an opportunity for our kids to come in and get better, especially if they want to. Another goal is for us to increase the number of wrestlers we have at the middle school level. We had a very small team, and again, it's kind of like the strength in numbers thing. You know, that's how you can go about winning matches, the more kids you have wrestling. So for us, we want to kind of work on that. All right, our swimming and diving team, 11 total students, boys and girls. Tim Cowley, head coach, did not manage to win the dual meet, but again, season accolades. Joey Ferenczi missed by literally maybe less than a point, making it to sectionals for diving. So very impressed with Joey. And once again, Joey is one of those kids who will be back here. He's an underclassman. Out of the 11, 8 postseason academic All-Americans. Again, I like what I'm seeing in terms of pushing Coach Cowley does a great job of pushing the academic piece at our swimmers and divers. So team GPA of 3.3, 73% of that whole roster were academic All-Americans. So that's definitely something I want to brag on and hang our hat on. Losing 4 kids, but Danny Bridgeforth and Joey Ferenczi will be back. Joey actually managed to take 3rd in the 100 meters at the Oroville invite. So we're looking forward to having him back. You see, again, our common theme, strength and conditioning. So we want to get that going for all of our programs. Increase in numbers, getting our kids in the pool a little bit earlier will be a good thing too. All right, the bowling program, I call them the rock stars of winter, and you'll see why here as I kind of go on. 19 kids in the program. We had a boys team and a girls team, and actually a JV boys team. So good numbers for Coach Thomas, our head girls coach, and Coach Steve Schuster, head coach of our boys. Season records are on display there. Varsity boys team had a very good year, but not to be outshined right here in terms of our accolades, where this program produced the bowler of the year and the coach of the year in the girls division, the boys division, and obviously the boys division for coaching. So Latia Grimes, senior, was the girls bowler of the year for the LEL. Tony Frankenberry, senior, bowler of the year for boys in the LEL. And then Coach Steve Schuster was the coach of the year for the Lake Erie League this year. So again, this is why I call them the rock stars of winter. Out of our 19 kids in the program, 12 of them carried a 3.0 GPA or better through the season, team GPA at 3.1. We're going to lose 5 seniors, but again, you see a lot of those names that are popping up who are going to be underclassmen who are going to be returning. And again, strength and conditioning, and we want to continue to develop skill and get them some opportunities to maybe get on the lanes a little bit sooner. Indoor track, 24 kids total in the program. Head coach Eugene Sanders. Again, they had a great year, starting with none other than Trinity Pollard, who took 4th in the state in the triple jump this year. And ladies and gentlemen, she just started triple jumping this year. So for her to kind of go from not doing it to being 4th best in the state as a junior says a lot about the coaching, it says a lot about the program, it says a lot about her and her commitment. Besides that, our girls 4x2, Amaya, Kendall, Ayana, and Trinity, they took 9th. Our boys 4x2, Kamari, Dasani, Clayton, and Darren, they took 9th. And then Darren, on an individual platform, took 13th in the 200. Again, we're expecting big things out of all of these kids during outdoor season. And I believe, if I'm looking at these names right, I believe only one of the names you see is actually a senior. So the majority of the names, that's my time? All right, so I am going to, may as well, okay, as long as I got, I'm good, but I'll go faster. So again, very proud of this group. So 13 kids, team GPA 3.1. Coach Sanders does a great job. Cheerleading, Coach McAllister, exceptional work as always, cheering our different sports on. I do want to shout out Alana Brooks, who had the opportunity to go participate in an HBCU combine for cheer in Atlanta, Georgia. I have not gotten a chance to catch up to her, see if she decided on a school yet, but signing day is coming, so I'm sure I'm going to have her down there at the table. 11 postseason academic All-Americans, team GPA of 2.8. And just my last kind of slide here, so I'm not too far off the pace, but I did practice, Dr. Johnson, I promise. So again, just kind of reiterating the 3.0 policy, and again, I have to thank Mr. Brinson for coming up with that in the fall, and we've kind of stuck to it. For winter athletics, 120 preseason academic All-Americans, but we ended with 66 postseason academic All-Americans. So again, I'm always a person who's trying to be forward-thinking. So what does that show me? You've got it in red there. Shows me that we need to emphasize study table or doing something in terms of the academic piece with our athletes so that we can maintain and not have a drop from 120 to 66 in terms of kids who carry a 3.0. And then spring athletics, pretty much underway. Baseball, softball, doing their best with the weather. Track and field, same thing. They opened this weekend at the Ned Weingart Invitational at Heights. Girls flag is out there right now with Coach Toth, and boys volleyball opened their season last night against Mayfield. They did not fare what we I guess as we wanted, but they get another crack at it Saturday when Rhodes comes in here. And that is winter athletics.
Wonderful, wonderful job. So proud of our children. Thank you, Mr. Commander.
And you'll be doing the same presentation in the municipalities?
Yeah, I've already started scheduling those. So
Good.
I go around to, I believe Bedford's locked in, and I'm waiting on return emails from the other three.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I like to hear
Share the
that.
good news.
Yes, absolutely. If you all don't mind, I gotta get you a real basketball game.
I
Thank
love
you.
seeing all the All-Americans, so that's, I like to see that.
Thank you so much. Item number 3.02, we'll have a presentation on our beer program, and Mrs. Armstrong.
So can everyone hear me? So I really like to just get the message for this one here.
All right, so everyone can hear me better? Okay, so this really is an update because we've been talking about the BEAR program for a very long time. And it's amazing that we're ready and we're here and we're ready to roll it out. So the BEAR program is going to be our alternative school for our district. And we've had a lot of different discussion about which students we want to invite to be participating into this program. And when we looked at all of our year's data, we have 11 students, our students, Bedford students, who are choosing to use the Autism Scholarship. At the beginning, which is taking away a lot of money from our district, plus these are our babies, and we want to keep our babies with us. The other piece is that we had a lot of students at the beginning of this school year who came into kindergarten not having any preschool experience, not having any daycare experience, that were identified as autistic. And it took a long time to get those students regulated and to teach them how to do school. So at the end of the day, we are going to start an innovative program for children with autism in Bedford. And we're very excited about this because we think that this is a gap that we've had in our continuum of services. So right now we have identified 7 students, 4 are already on board that we talked to today, and we're going to start at Mount Zion Church on April 22nd. So we've been working with Pastor Macon, we hired a teacher, we are working with our BCBA, our board certified behavior analyst, we hired a registered behavior technician, and we're going to work with these students to work on their social skills, their behavior skills, and their academics. So we are very excited. The other thing that happened that we were just very blessed, I was so excited, out of the blue last week, I received a phone call from a program called Success for Autism. People are saying really wonderful things about Bedford. Somebody came up to this woman, Lisa Wells, and said that Bedford is doing exceptional things in their district. And actually she said moving and shaking. So this program is a nonprofit program that got a grant, and they have asked us to apply for a fellowship. It's a 14-month fellowship for having training and having the assistance of a master teacher with autism to help us develop this program. So we are super excited. We just got the go-ahead. We're going to apply for that fellowship, so I'm hoping that we do get that. But that would give us an additional support too, and it's no cost to the district. And the teachers would get a stipend, and it's a 14-month program, so they would have to commit to some training this summer and like an internship next summer. So that's the gist of it right now. We're in the process of identifying our students, talking to families, inviting them. We are going to have an open house brunch on the 19th over at Mount Zion that I will invite all of you to, so that when we're up and ready to go, we can celebrate our opening day. All right, do you have any questions for me?
I did. To my understanding, there was a grant that was written or received in order for us to have this situated at Mount Zion. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, this would come out of IDEAB funds, which is a federal grant. So it's a supplement, not supplant grant. So it's for new and innovative ideas. So we can't use that money towards things that are already existing. So we looked at the needs in our district, and this is what we came up, and we're using the IDEAB grants. And thank you for that, because I forgot to mention that.
And then in conjunction with that, this other organization is basically being collaborated with.
I hope so.
So that's additional, not what already was established.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? We're super excited. This is going to be a fun thing. The teacher that we hired, Mrs. Alex Wasco, she's very energetic, and she's got so many things on the board ready to go. And she's been in the elementary schools collecting data and establishing relationships with these kids and these families that we've invited. So when I call and say, Miss Alex has invited you to their program, we had a parent today that said, oh my God, I'm so excited, I can't wait. So we're very excited.
The other question I had is, what led to the reasoning as to why we are holding at Mount Zion versus being able to utilize space that we have within our district?
Well, we're pretty squishy right now, to be honest with you. We don't have a lot of space, and when we looked around, Yeah, no, thank you, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the response to that.
Yeah, we are very squishy. We don't have space in the district. Mount Zion is giving us 4 classrooms. 2 of them are going to be classrooms. One is going to be a safe space or a reset room, and one is going to be a therapeutic room.
So when you say therapy or reset, are these like sensory spaces and or, okay.
I feel like you're a plant, thank you.
Maybe.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, and I'm so happy to see that we are going to bring our children back home.
Oh, that's really
Yes,
I'm
yes,
excited too.
I agree. The
And-
cost, yeah, I know there is a cost when our children, is that your question?
No, I was actually going to, because it brought to my attention, I know somebody asked, how is this gonna, because I know it costs more to send them out. And so there was concern about, okay, why is that, how are we saving money? So seeing that we're utilizing the grant, but we're also saving money because we're not sending them out, but at the same time, we're keeping them in our district.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, and I wanted to make sure that, because I know that's been a concern, and I know that unfortunately misinformation has been put out. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood we're actually saving money in this manner, and we're using grant money. And again, we're keeping our babies in district instead of sending them out to somebody else. We're trying to raise our numbers, so why would we send our babies out? So thank you.
The reasoning for my questions in the first place is desperately to establish that because of the concern. The other thing is, let's mention the dollar amount, because I think that's essential as well. I believe $80,000 or such is what it costs, to send those, what'd you say?
Kids Wing just went up to $95,000.
She said it just went up to 95,000, just went up to 95,000, so $5,000 of a grant funds, not coming out of the general fund. 5,000 is almost like a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money, you're talking about almost $100,000 for one child. So, I just wanted to make sure that, just to clarify some information.
Thank you for clarifying that
Thank you.
information.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
how long is this program supposed to be housed there? Because is this also gonna be interwoven into reasoning for space when we're talking about what we're building? Because we wanna also make sure, I think it's important that we're not creating restrictive environments. Our children still need to be among other, neurotypical students. And it's important for tolerance and everything that all students understand how to be interactive with one another, so. And I know we're creating collaborative spaces in that, so I just wanna
I feel like
how long this is
I
going to
feel
last.
like we practiced this, because I forgot that too. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that this is not a one-way street. Sometimes our kids just need to be kind of shored up with their skills, and when they're ready to come back, and their least restrictive environment is a classroom in one of our buildings, that's where they'll go. So this is not just a one-way street, so thank you.
That's important.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Item number 4 is for the, our audience participation. 4.01.
Erica, Nicole, I'm gonna read this first, we forgot to last time. I wanna make sure we read the public comment. The audience participation is for those wishing to make public comment and/or comments regarding the resolutions on which the board will take action during this meeting. Participants will be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation, if and when appropriate. Each statement made by the participant shall be limited to 3-minute duration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question with that, because according to the law and statute, naming your address is not essential. You do not have to say your address, so I believe that should be stricken from this, because the law has changed on that.
Thank you. I know we've been in contact about trying to switch this up, so I know what we're doing. Ms. Erica, Nicole,
you.
Right.
I think you probably got to use the other one.
Hello, good evening. My name is Erica Nicolich, Oakwood Village Council President. I wanted to say hello and thank you to the board for having me and for a great start to the new year. You basically answered my question regarding least restrictive environment and how the children in that program will be, they'll have peer models and they'll be able to interact with children. Because the thought of taking them off-site seems very isolating. So it's good to hear that there is some collaboration between peer models and those kids. So how often are they going to be interacting with kids on a regular basis? Peer models.
She can have her speak.
Do I? Oh, I can't question her? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Oh, and the other thing was, just as a municipality, we also have another ward council here. I would love to begin the dialogue of how we can work together. What do you need from the municipalities? How can we support your efforts? So I know there's many ways to do this, and this may not be something that we can answer here tonight, but I really wanted to extend the invitation to reach out and let us know whatever it is that we can do. Oakwood supports you, and we just want to know if there's anything that we can do to support you. Let us know, reach out, and we're here for you. So this is a way to start the collaboration and the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're all one family. And we'll get you, I'll follow up on your question about the unit over at Northside. All right, thank you. Is that the only one? All right, thank you. Item number 5 is our consent agenda, 5.01. Board, excuse me, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is presented?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Macklin. Do we have any questions or discussion, board, about the consent agenda?
I do. I have a couple questions, and it's mainly around the CTE. If it can be just clarified how these positions are gonna be paid for, and where they are coming out. I see they're pretty high steps as well, included in that. And to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when you come with experience, that determines the steps. So let me know what that answer is to that. But more importantly is where and how when we're hiring clinicians for this programming. And then in conjunction with that, if we can expound a little bit more on where the spacing, where these programs are gonna be held. And then, what was my other question? It was more so around the grant, how these programs are being funded. I did happen to check the list of the state, and I saw that we did not get that grant. We were not one of the districts listed on there. So, if you can clarify that.
Thanks so much. I think also Dr. 3, if I'm not, I don't know if you're going to come a little bit forward in case I missed something. So, and just remind me if I forget some of the parts. In terms of the steps, yes, the negotiated agreement determines how we pay CTE teachers. There's some very specific verbiage in there about where we can start teachers based on their work experience. Most career tech teachers don't come to us with a teacher's license. ODE has much guidance on how to establish the appropriate certification, and then in collaboration with the negotiated agreement, that's how we establish also the step. And we can make sure that we forward that language to you so that you don't have to search through the contract in terms of how individuals are paid. It also, one of the things we also do is we also provide professional development and training to ensure that they obtain the Ohio Department of Education required licensure. So in terms of how we're funding, when it comes to that professional development and training, we do have a grant. I believe, Dr. 3, you're using right now the Expanding Opportunities grant that we have. We multiple federal grants that we get as a district. And so that is one of the grants. In addition to that, we can also send you information, because it'll take me a really long time to go through all the ways we can use each of those grants. So we have the Expanding Opportunities Grant. I think there's another grant you have. We also have Perkins. We have Wave-It funds. So we can send you a breakdown as to what covers what. In terms of the grant that we applied for that many districts didn't get unless you were in rural or you were already a career tech center, I will say, even though we were personally asked to apply for that facilities grant by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, no, we didn't get it. So that was for facilities. So even though we applied for that grant, we had already thought ahead of time, as we had planned for the bond and other things in the commitment that we made to the community to bring programming back, we've already been starting to set funds aside. One of the things that I think Tabby and I work well on is she definitely says, okay, this is coming on the table, what's coming off the table? In addition to that, when we're doing staffing in general, and I appreciate Ms. Lewis being here, because she's a part of this as well, is when we go through the staffing process and kids make selections based on what they feel is in the best interest of them, but also we as the adults, when we see what the state is requiring, we do have to also step in and say, okay, you might not have thought about this, but these are some things that we foresee where you might need to be or where we're being guided to take you. We look at all the numbers. If 20 students take this and 50 students take that, that's where we're gonna place the students, so we need less over here. So that's how we kind of balance things off in terms of the cost of our staffing. It all comes down to what we call the full-time equivalents, FTEs, in terms of staffing to determine the cost. So the salaries are coming out of the general fund. Individuals might say, how can that happen without a huge increase? Again, there's only so many periods in a day. There's only so much space, so therefore, if not as many kids are taking this over here, they're going over there. And so that is how we are able to fund that without kind of going through the roof.
And then the only thing that I wanted to add to what Dr. Johnson said is when you talk about the facilities and how TAD preserved money, that is not general fund. Facilities, we have a permanent improvement fund, so it's our 002 fund versus our general fund. So the money that they're spending to construct the classes for the CTE are not coming out of general fund, that is out of permanent improvement fund.
The other piece that I would share is that even though we're out of the consortium, those are still our partners. I talk to those superintendents on a regular basis. So our babies are their babies and vice versa. We went into this with a commitment that they know that they have to do what's best for their communities, and we have to do what's best for ours. So with that being stated, we agreed that we would not harm children in their education. So say we only have 3 kids that signed up for something. That is not fiscally responsible for us to hire a full-time teacher to provide that program. So I'm constantly in conversations with the other districts that are housing that program. So we have agreed to say, okay, our babies still can go there as we transition, because that is in the best interest of children. So for our construction trades program and things of that nature, those are conversations that we continuously have happen, which I'm so appreciative. And I would like to publicly thank those superintendents for their ongoing collaboration and us being able to think forward in terms of how we're going to support and serve the kids. And keep that commitment to each of our communities.
I have a follow-up question to that, but just to go back to the original 3, you hit 2. Where are they going to be housed in these particular programs specifically?
In terms of those programs, there's a, Dr. Reed, I don't know, you want to talk about that a little bit? You got to come to the mic. Mrs. Armstrong wants to make one correction in terms of the account number.
Yeah, really quick, I said 002, I meant to say 003 for permanent improvement. I don't want any confusion because 002 is our bond retirement account. So 003 is
Look it up, y'all ain't gonna
our
check.
permanent improvement. Thank you.
I was saying like.
Thank you for that
For the
clarification.
record,
For the record. 003.
So as far as where they're gonna be housed at, the current CTE courses will be housed where they're housed now. And the newer courses will be in the south side. Ms. Robinson and I did a walkthrough of the south side. So we have already designated those classrooms to those particular pathways. So there is room on the south side. We're doing some moving around with administrative departments that are currently on the south side so that we can house our pathways there until our brand new buildings are built.
And it won't interfere also with the Excel program being
No.
housed there as well?
No. The CTE courses will be downstairs, Excel courses will be upstairs.
I was gonna say that, one, we had CAS, we're using the room that already had been CAS
Yes,
before.
sorry, yeah, the old CAS room is going to be the new CAS room, the old and the new. There are some things we had to do with the cosmetology room so that we could be up to standard with the State Board of Cosmetology. We have to follow the State Board of Cosmetology and ODEW. So we are following the guidelines of both of those. Just to give you an example, the old cosmetology room, I think the max was like 1,200 square feet. It's not that anymore, it's 3,000 square feet. So we had to make sure that we had enough square footage for our cosmetology room to pass inspection and all the other requirements that the State Board of Cosmetology has for us in place. We've been, Tad and I and GPD have been in contact with the State Board of Cosmetology so that we can make sure that we have everything ready and set when the new school year starts for our students.
Thank you. And then, the last one I had, was, how long are these contracts supposed to be set for?
The teacher contracts,
Mm-hmm.
by law, under Ohio Revised Code, unless you have tenure, they're limited contracts. So we don't get to choose that. The state has already stated what we can do. So you will see in a couple of months, a lot of names on the board agenda because by law, limited contracts are expiring contracts. And so there are very strict guidelines on who gets a continuing contract. And if people don't understand what a continuing contract is, that's forever, basically, unless there's something major done to break that contract. There's so many credit hours, so many days years you had to work in the district. You go before a committee, then I have to come to you to say, do you approve the continuing contract? They get an additional evaluation and things of that nature. So I will say, and I will say, this is even before my time, the board and the leadership that had established a process in Bedford to determine who gets continuing contract goes to much credit. It's not a checkbox. So previous leadership established the guidelines for continuing contract. And that means if you don't have continuing, you only get a 1 year under Ohio Revised Code. So these individuals as well get a 1 year contract.
So just to clarify, it's not the board's decision, it's the Ohio Revised
Right.
Code.
Right.
Just so that is noted.
Right, the board does not have the right to give continuing contract to an individual that has not gone through all those steps and guidelines, and I can forward that paperwork to you as well. It's like a flow chart that we give. And then on our end, we have to ensure that they've met all those requirements under the law in order to for them to even give it to me. So I'll be meeting with the principals, for example, next week. There's even timelines in place in terms of when the paperwork has to be done. If somebody applies and they don't get it, they even have a deadline to remove their name, or they have a year to get it, or they're automatically terminated. So the state has very strict guidelines in Ohio, and again, not Dr. Johnson, not the Board of Education, but this is Ohio Revised Code that establishes that.
And which code is that? Sorry.
I can ask Kristen Costa to give that to you, but, right, it's number 33, I can look that up for you. But on that flow chart that I
But
give
it's
you,
continuing contract.
is for continuing contract. And I can, on the flow chart, it has the specific ORC on there.
Okay.
And you can also, if you go to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, and in the search tool, look up continuing contract, it's on there as well.
Thank you for that, you can tell.
Any other questions, board, or
It's
discussion?
3319.08. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then the only time I will say is that, I said it's not really forever, until you retire. So your retiree hires, to my understanding, I don't know if it stays with them when they
That's
come back.
forever. That's forever. Real. It's not an easy task. I'll be back.
Thank you so much for the explanation. I think that will clarify some questions that may be coming up, so that definitely helps. Thank you.
Can I have a motion, please? Oh, I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Let's vote.
That was a long
I know that was a long one.
Yeah.
Hey, it was
All right.
necessary.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes,
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
Yes.
motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Item number 6.01. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes for March 21st, 2024 work session?
Motion to approve minutes for March 2024 work session.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mr. Akins. Any questions, board? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes,
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
Yes.
motion passes 5-0. Item number 7 is our superintendent's report. Dr. Johnson?
Good evening, Board President, Vice President, and Board members. Under 7, there are 6 exhibits before you that I ask of your approval. Under 7.01, I ask of your approval of the hiring of Mr. Antonio Gaines as the Associate Principal at Heskett Middle School. Under 7.02, I ask of your approval of the following calendar. Under 7.03, I ask of your approval of the following MOU with Tri-C. I don't know if that was answered, Dr. Reed, but we, again, going back to cost, we didn't feel like it was fiscally responsible to start building things here. We're gonna get new buildings. So the culinary arts facility at Tri-C is what will be used. We've had great conversations with the new president, Dr. Kitchens over there, as you know, of no charge to the district. Each year he's let us have our convocation and things of that nature. We're going to be having our LEL Leadership Conference over there as well. So they have agreed to permit us to utilize their facility for the culinary arts program. So this is the MOU that's on there. If you had any questions, Dr. Greek will be able to answer that. Under 7.04, we ask of your approval of the following agreement. Under 7.05, we ask of your approval of the following contracts. Under 7.06, we ask of your approval of the following building permits. This is with the Bedford Parks and Rec. I will also share they have been so awesome as well. It's our other communities in terms of our partnerships and us sharing of facilities and space.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Excuse me. Could I have a motion to approve the administrative personnel recommendation as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Macklin and second by Mrs. Carter. Board, do we have any discussion?
I do have a question. Can you, just for clarification, explain what a associate principal is for those who may not know?
Yes, and I do wanna, apologize in advance on behalf of Ms. Ham because they have math night tonight at Heskett, which is why she is not here, with Mr. Gaines. But the associate principal, at Heskett Middle School, basically is more of that transition between your assistant or your dean. They might do a little bit more in terms of the content and the curriculum and things of that nature at the building level. So you would have your principal, your associate, and then you would have your assistant or dean. But in this case, we have the principal and the associate and the dean.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask, I thought originally we were eliminating the associate principal position. We thought we were hiring an assistant.
I don't remember that conversation, but we can talk about personnel. I think Tabby has the list of cuts that are on there. What we did do is there was a restructuring of that, because we do have a retiree, who is currently in that role. At the high school, there was an elimination of the associate role. So it's more of a title change rather than a cost, if that makes sense.
So it's no change in pay?
Right.
Okay. So maybe that's where I thought it was eliminated, was only because that individual who was holding that role. So I thought it was
Yep.
gonna be an assistant person. So now in that building, it will just be building principal, associate principal, dean of students, and one dean of students.
One. But I will share, on the cuts, there were some administrative positions on there. I have had conversations with all deans, so I don't feel like this is a breach of any kind of confidentiality. But there will be movement and to determine based on data, and size of buildings in terms of who gets what. Instead of you get one, you get one, you get one. As a district, we need to do a better job of ensuring that we're aligning our staffing to needs, and size.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Oh, yeah, we can do that now. He's here.
Mr. Gaines is here. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
Well, come
It's
on,
just
Mr.
been,
Gaines.
Put on the spot.
it has been a delight to have you, in our district. I know that this is your home, so I didn't know if there's anything that you wanted to specifically state.
Mike.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Good evening. Antonio Gaines. I'm currently the Dean of Academics at Central Primary, but I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in the district, home, and happy to be a part of Heskett Middle School. So thank you all. Thank you as well.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
So, I was doing a sidebar, so I don't think I was getting through. I thank you for being here. I was surprised, I didn't know you were already currently in district. When I saw your ID, I said, oh, he already in district is what I said. So that means we will be, now, Central has a vacancy, correct?
In the district, there's a dean
As a
vacancy.
dean position.
Seems like I'm frozen.
Okay.
7:02. No. I'm so embarrassing. 7.02. So can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve administrative personnel, I'm sorry, nope, wrong one. It didn't move.
It's not
definitely.
Yeah, it's something, I thought it was frozen.
Added an agenda item.
Oh, no. So, motion to approve 2025-2026 calendar.
Oh, it's you first. Oh, no.
Sorry, don't worry about it. Just keep it where it is.
Okay, yeah, because everything happens to I'm sorry,
Motion to
Ms.
approve.
Carter.
Nope, you're fine. Motion to approve 2025-2026 calendar.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Macklin. Do we have questions about the calendar? Anybody see it?
I did, and please forgive me that I didn't ask this before, because I know we've seen it already, I think, on 2 agendas. But it just came to mind because we were on spring break last week. I remember we switched spring break before to align with the consortiums, like the breaks that we have are kind of aligned with the consortiums. And I did not compare, but if you know, is it still kind of the same, or are we away from that?
We, honestly, we attempted to, but as a result, for example, they also have their union contracts that they have to follow. They also have their union contracts that they have to follow. So we've always attempted, but it always has not been perfect. For example, we were off Monday, but I know like Lawrenceville wasn't off Monday. And so we've attempted, but then things pop up. But I know for this one moving out, next year and the following year, we did not. We just did week out, so it was, best and better, since we're not in the consortium.
So when I was looking at that, it's still considered Easter Monday, but then it's also that Tuesday as well, or is that just highlighted because of the end of semester? Oh,
If you
Look at the
refresh now,
bottom.
there it goes.
it should be fixing now.
Willie, press
date? Is it still
you
gonna
should
be
be.
Easter Monday observed? Is what I'm asking.
The Friday is the third, yes, the 6th. It's a conference compact. So that's something that they negotiate because they stay late for conferences. They get that next day off.
Oh, okay. Well, there's some history behind Easter Monday. I don't know if anybody ever knew about it, but it's some Black history involved with Easter Monday. So that's why I'm really pushing that we continue to do that, even though individuals do not observe Easter Monday. But there is some Black history behind the reason why it exists. And it's due to the fact that enslaved were not allowed to be at the White House for the Easter egg hunt and everything. So it became an African tradition to have Easter Monday. Just a tidbit.
Say it loud, please, because I had to work.
So yeah.
Easter Monday
is African American censored or Black American censored due to the fact that enslaved individuals or Black individuals were not allowed to be at the White House on Sunday for the Easter egg hunt that they had. So they acknowledged it the day after, where African spirituals, dances, festivals, celebrations were done on Easter Monday. Good, thank you.
Good information.
Little Black history thing.
You're tuning in to our meeting.
There's it. Come on.
All right.
Motion. I mean, roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. 7.03, could I have a motion to approve the MOU as it is presented?
Motion to approve the MOU as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Akins and second by Mrs. Carter. Do we have any questions, board?
No, I'm excited.
Excited?
I'm
Yes.
excited about this. I'm grateful that we have that partnership with Tri-C, and they're willing to work with us, and work with our students to provide such a great opportunity. So, thank you for all who's involved.
I think it's excellent because it's not taking anything from the district. I think that's very important that that was clarified too.
Yes.
And that we have a space that we didn't even have to construct or spend more money to do even with the little bit that we currently have. So, great job on finding that opportunity.
Thank you, board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Item number 7.04. Could I have
Motion to approve resolution as presented.
Second.
I'll just say both of them.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Macklin. You have any question or discussion, board? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes,
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board.
It's okay.
Item number 7.05.
You wanna talk before? You wanna make the motion first?
Okay, all right, can I have a motion to approve the following agreements?
Motion to approve the following agreements as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Akins and second by Mrs. Carter. We are going to listen to a very short presentation. Before we
I
have
promise I
questions
will
and
be short.
discussion.
There are a couple things on here, and they're all important. The first one is the PCs for People. That is for this organization to be able to basically put wireless antennas on our buildings in order to provide low-cost internet to families that are within range of those buildings. Obviously, in a few years, we're going to be tearing down some of these buildings, but in the meantime, when they'll be able to do that, and it doesn't cost the district anything other than the trickle of electricity to run those routers. I believe that the cost is $15 a month for high-speed internet, which is pretty good, so that's something that they'll be able to sign up for if they choose. It's just an extra service that they provide to families that have need of it. The one I'm most excited to talk about is something I've been talking about for some time, is the resolution for the ranking and selection of the construction manager at risk. As you are all aware, we began this process for the selection of the construction manager back in January. We've gone through a request for qualifications where we received statements of qualifications from a number of firms. We narrowed that list down to 3 firms with the selection committee, which was the superintendent, myself, and the other executive directors, along with advice from our construction attorney and GPD. We followed the statutory guidelines, and then the committee was able to unanimously select the top-ranked firm, which is Panzica Construction. We did have 2 other firms that were in the top ranking, A.M. Higley and Gilbane. That is in order of 1, 2, and 3, which is required by the statute that we rank these top 3 firms. But again, we are very excited. You've probably seen the signs from Panzica Construction around town. Mark Panzica is here with us today. He does have a very brief presentation, I promise, to explain more about what the role of the CMR is. What you're voting on now is for the pre-construction services, which will help us get to construction, which will begin in May, maybe sooner. We can talk about that at a later date. We have some things that we might try to do early if we can. But I'll let Mark talk about what they're going to provide for us.
Thank you, Tim. We're in green. This is intentional. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Panzica. I'm the president of Panzica Construction Company. We're very excited to be part of this team, and that's what it is. We are a team locked arm in arm from now until we are complete, and we are an extension of you and out to the community. So, a little about what we're going to do during this pre-con process. Computer's different. Let's try that. So, I'm standing here in front of you, but this is the team that is going to be the boots in the ground, people that are going to be with us every day. My partner on this, and this is a partnership, Next Generation Construction is our partner on this project, and Shaq is my counterpart with Next Gen. He and I lead our teams respectively, but we are one team. So our team is integrated from start to finish, from pre-construction all the way through construction. Chris Montgomery is our vice president. He'll be the project executive. He'll be the face you'll see on a regular basis in these meetings, as well as leading our team. Nate Price is the counterpart to Chris, but Chris will be the lead point person from day one through the end. Leading the estimating side is Ken Flessy and Marcel. They're both working hand in hand together. They will, since we're working on multiple schools at the same time, the resources that we have available to us are able to collaborate really close together and create those GMPs for K through 12, K through 2, 6 through 8, and the high school work. Leading the actual construction process, we have two teams. Bill O'Hare and Mike White will be doing the 6 through 8 as well as the high school, and Danielle James and David Toth are going to run the PK through 2. Supporting them in administrative roles is Oceana Apollo and Joy Pernot, that will support both those teams on the administrative side. And then last but not least is Dave Baker, our safety director. He is there to be proactive, making sure that the people that go to work every day and the surrounding community goes home safely at night. So we want to make sure that we're proactive and not reactive. And last but not least is Ron Pato. He's our QA/QC director. He's actually a Bedford graduate. I won't name the year because he'll kill me if I did, but it was a few moons ago. So that's the team that you will see kind of working with the district and with GPD from now through the end. What are we going to do during this pre-con process? So we're going to work hand in hand with GPD in the different stages of the design and estimating process. So there's an SD level and DD level, which are different phases of which the design comes complete. While those documents get completed, we will provide estimates along the way to make sure we're staying on budget. And while we do that, we look at how it was the best way to build a mousetrap. How do we create the best materials that are in there for the best cost available, and making sure that we use the advantage of the volume of building we're doing here to make sure that we can get the most amount of bang for our buck. We'll look at how to build the best way to do it. We'll look at the best way to create the most amount of opportunities for subcontractors available, and make sure that they're qualified ahead of time so that their success can be translated all the way through the project. And then at the end of the day, we will create a GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price for each one of those schools. A little bit about the process we go through. It is very much a open book, collaborative process, so we'll work arm in arm with GPD on an iterative basis, if not weekly, more often than that, to making sure that we're putting the right elements and parts and pieces in there in the most economical way of doing so. So at the end of the day, we have an asset for the community that's going to last for 50 plus odd years. And these are the steps that we do to make that happen. We also get market pricing along the way to make sure that the pricing that we turn in each one of those steps during the estimating and the design process is staying current. And as we all have seen throughout the last years, the market has changed with supply chain and the ability to get materials, so we want to make sure we have a pulse on what's going on in the market out there. Procurement is one that I'm going to touch on quickly, and the fact that we're going to look at ways to do bulk purchases. And we have to buy a lot of light fixtures, so how can we create the best bang for our dollar to buy bulk purchases with lighting so that we can put those throughout the schools and get the most value for the dollars that are being spent. We also do want to make sure that when we subcontract, we give opportunities to small and diverse businesses. We want to do that in a way that makes them successful, giving them scopes of work that are attainable. So what we do is we go through a pre-qualification process to make sure that we can see what their capacities are, and then we can marry those up to putting packages together. We will also create bid packages that are small. Sometimes the opportunity is not a matter of capacity, it's just a matter of do they have the ability to handle that kind of work and handle payroll and the financial aspect of it. So we want to create opportunities so people can grow and build their businesses within the communities that they live and serve. schedule as part of our process, so we will do a master overall program. We will also break it down into different phases so that we make sure that we're staying on track every part of the way. The best way to eat an apple is to bite it in small pieces as opposed to try to do it in one big bite. So having a schedule that breaks it down into smaller pieces, making sure that we are staying on track to do that. And then last but not least, we'll make sure that we report out how we're doing along the way. This information that we have is yours, so we want to make sure it gets out to the communities that we all serve. So we are an extension of your team, and how we communicate that is something we want to make sure we are on the same page with all parties involved, so that this asset that we are producing for the community is something they're all proud of. So that's what we're going to do in about 3 minutes, but it'll be 3 years how we complete this, so we're excited to be part of this opportunity and look forward to any questions.
I would be sweet. You were talking about quality, and I just want to make sure that what you're saying budgeting, and want to make sure I want to make sure that materials just are quality, so that we don't have to come back and fix certain things because we use cheap materials. So I just want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. I'm serious. No knocking nobody with a Ryan home, but sometimes, sometimes materials be a little less. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment 100%. That's something that we work very closely with GPD. That is the best part about this process, is having an upfront collaborative process with firms that do this work a lot. So we understand the different materials that are out there. How do we do it in an economical manner? But at the end of the day, it needs to be something that is long lasting. These are buildings that's there to stand through our communities and our kids' kids. So we want to make sure that they're here to stand. They're easy to maintain. Is another one. So Ron Pato in our group, the graduate of Bedford, is very good at that process. So he'll work as a complementary role to GPD, and they'll kind of share and collaborate ideas to make sure that how we build it is built the first time with the right materials that are being selected. So.
Right.
Absolutely.
That was a good question, and I appreciate the communication part of it. And I see a lot of heads, when I say communication, I see a lot of heads doing this, because our community does want to know. So being able to have that information, to be able to provide to our municipalities, for them to be able to hear what's going on, that will be huge, and I appreciate that.
Great.
I actually had another question for you as well. In terms of finding the quality materials as mentioned, what about just making sure they're more energy efficient? Is that on your to-do list as well?
So yeah, and I can take this if you want to chime in here, Russell. Part of the OSDM manual, the Ohio School Design Manual, thank you, I just do it as the acronym. There are minimum requirements that have energy requirements associated with it. So there's a statewide energy minimum threshold, but we'll look for ways to enhance that if possible. All the schools need to be at least LEED Silver. So as part of that LEED process, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, thank you, those minimums have increased year after year because the way of being able to achieve high quality performance buildings is the way to do it in a best quality energy consumption, or least energy consumption piece of it. So there's guidelines that we have to follow anyway, and they're pretty stringent. So the way that the new buildings are being built per the OSDM manual, they're pretty high performance. And that's the only thing?
Very good questions.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Armstrong wants to ask, it's probably about money.
Bring it on.
I just wanted to say that they mentioned that procurement schedule, and I just want to keep tying things together. I know some of the questions last week was about the bond drawdown. So that's another thing that my bond counsel and bond advisors use to create the bond drawdown schedule. Again, we work a lot with TAD to figure out what that actual bond drawdown schedule looks like according to law, what we're allowed to do. Just wanted to link that all together.
And while you answering money questions, as far as this, just to be clear, for all purposes, this money that's being paid is coming out of that $13 million drawdown, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
For, in simple terms, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For layman's terms.
Terms that we can understand.
That's it.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Any more questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We will chase you down.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I know, yeah, I confused when they go past 2 or 3 minutes. All that memory thing. First thing to go. Roll call,
There was a
please. Oh,
motion,
yeah.
but see, the presentation was part of the discussion. I can't approve language. I'm gonna tell you, I love it and I'm glad you're here. However, this contract says we're approving this resolution and it indicates that now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Shaker Heights Local School District that this board hereby ranks the CMRs. I cannot say yes to an agreement that does not have the correct language.
That was the attorney.
Can we amend the resolution on the floor, please?
It would have to be moved for that. I still wanna see something. I'd rather agree to something that I see. I mean, it's the will of the board and what they choose, but I'ma already say no.
Pardon me? Can it be amended?
Yes, but what's the amendment?
To change the name.
From Shaker Heights to, that's a legal document.
You guys are voting on it.
Exactly, exactly.
I'm happy to amend the document and bring it back to you. Or vote.
I mean,
Like when?
Like now, like I can go down.
Oh,
the
like
line.
now?
so let's table it. You can't table it now. Nope.
That would just be coming back to it later.
Yeah,
We'll come back to it in the,
table means later.
yeah, we can do it in the minute.
Can we?
So table is during the meeting, so we table it now, and maybe we come back to it in the meeting, so now.
During the meeting, so he's saying
Each saying you can do it now.
Yeah, you can do it now. He's
I'm
gonna do it
gonna
now.
change it right now.
It can be changed right now, legally by you, legally by you.
Yeah, and I will email it to every single one of you, so you have.
Thank you.
actual
Okay.
So it's tabled right now.
Yeah, we'll move it. Oh, so that's a motion.
Just motion to table.
So I make the motion to table, until we actually have a resolution with the correct information.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Turner, second by, Ms. Carter. Roll call, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
and Mr. Akins.
Yes.
Oh, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
So now we gotta still take the rest of the other two as a whole, as a vote.
We're doing it seven.
7.2. Yeah. Is that
So
what you said?
the vote, that vote was for the table. So
Oh,
now
we
we
don't
still
have
have
that. We
to
had a
vote
motion.
for the original motion that was made. There was a motion on the table.
Right.
So that still has to require a vote for the PCs for people in the North Coast
So I
share.
thought we motioned the whole seven.
Oh, we did, with the whole thing?
We'll just
Okay,
come back to
that's
it.
nice,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, you were talking about the other two items, no, the whole thing.
Yeah, I was thinking
The
we were
whole
just
thing.
tabling, pulling that out.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so, yeah.
7.06. Could I have a motion to approve the facilities request as presented?
Motion to approve facilities request as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by, Mrs. Turner Birch. Any questions about the permit? About the use of the facilities? Having none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. And item number 8 is our treasurer's report.
So good evening, Mrs. Boynton and Mrs. Macklin and board members. Tonight I have 3 items on the treasurer's report. The first item is item 8.01, gifts and donations. We have the donation of a Sony LCD projector with a remote, the brackets, and also some soccer ball, kickball, mesh balls, and some other items at a value of about $4,000 donated to the athletic program. We have our 8.02 then and now purchase orders. And then item .803 is the approval of the tax rate resolution. And in regards to that, a couple of meetings ago, you guys approved the tax budget. And once that's approved, we send it to the county. The county sends this back that you then have to vote on. So this is the second step of the tax rate resolution.
Can I have a motion for 8.01 to accept the donation as presented?
Motion to accept donations as presented.
It's been moved by Mrs. Macklin and second by Mr. Akins. We have any questions about that or discussion, board?
How are we expecting to utilize the projector? Has that even been said? Because we got a brand new scoreboard and all that stuff.
So this is actually like for in the athletic, it's like a big TV. So I guess probably to review, tape.
Okay.
Yeah, I did reach out to him to ask that, and he said it would be in the athletic department lounge. I
So
spoke
would
with
that be in the
JC.
stadium?
I can confirm, I didn't get that specific when I asked him, but JC, I can follow up with you and let you know how he plans to use it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Carter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Could I have a motion to approve 8.02, which is our purchase orders?
Motion to approve purchase orders as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Macklin. Do you have any questions?
I just have one. Mayfield City Schools, is this for a student that needs to attend there?
Yes, this is, it just says special ed, I don't have all the details, but yes.
I'm pretty sure, it doesn't break the special ed. And I just want to make a comment that I am glad to see that we do not have a laundry list of then and nows, as we had stated before, that we were eliminating that, so I appreciate being on top of that.
And I did, when these come on, I do review them and kind of look at where they're coming from, and a lot of these were not really avoidable. So I will commend our executive leadership team for really working on that and trying to get POs on ahead of time.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Could I have a motion to approve 8.03? It's our tax rate resolution for tax year 2024.
Motion to approve tax rate resolution for tax year 2024.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mr. Akins. Any questions about this resolution? Hearing none, roll call please, Mrs. Armstrong.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Could I, we're going back to 7.0, I do have.
I make a motion to remove the original table, item back to the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Turner Birch and second by Mrs. Carter. Roll call, please.
We do have the resolution for the record. We have the correct, which indicates be it resolved by the Bedford Board of Education. So with that, I say yes. Oh,
Really do.
oh, shoot, I'm ahead of the game.
Yes.
Roll
Slow
call
it
to
down,
our
just
table.
sped it up.
All right, Mrs. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
and Mr. Akins.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Could we have a motion to?
Motion to approve the following agreements.
Yes.
All four.
Thank you.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Turner Birch. Any discussion? No, you can say that.
Yes, it's yes.
No, you got to say that it's been changed.
The resolution has been changed. Well, that's fine. I will drop that shit. But it has been changed, so therefore.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mr. Akins.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board, and thank you, Tad, and we do, I'm blaming mine on the computer because I couldn't see it. But thank
Well, I do
you, thank you, Ms.
apologize
Turner.
for the error.
Item number 9 is Board of Education, old business, new business, and 9.01. I need a motion to approve, thank you. To approve the resolution for reappointing the superintendent of the Bedford City School District and approving the employment contract as presented. Could I have a motion for 9.01, please?
Motion to approve the resolution for employing the superintendent of BCSD and approving the employment contract as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Carter and second by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions, discussion, or?
My only discussion is that I did not feel that this was the opportune time in this juncture to actually, have the reemployment as of right now. Ahead of the negotiations, ahead of the school district, and ahead of the contract not fully being, completed, at least until next year. It is not typically normal for a board to reapprove a superintendent this early in the contract ending. And so that is just my statement as to moving forward. I just don't think it's the right time.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Macklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Akins,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch.
It's the will of the board, but it's a no.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you, board. Oh. Scared to do anything, just anything goes out when I do anything. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, I'm
Trying not to
I have
take
to go
anything
back
to freeze.
All right, I was gonna say something. I was getting here. Just don't know how much trouble I have with board docs. It's just,
Technology is horrible this week.
yes.
No, thank you, Board President, Vice President, and board members. I do want to just thank you, for this opportunity. We came into this situation at a very tough time in the district. Shortly after, I will just publicly say that it was a very difficult time for me. this has been my home. And so, I will continue to say, as I've said to, the board president, vice president, each board member, that I'm very blessed to work not with you, but just for you. I respect each of your votes, the yeses and the nos. One thing that I have shared with Mrs. Birch is that she has been consistent. You have been very open, and we, at the end of the day, regardless as to who I talk to, this is an amazing district. I work with an amazing board. We have great students, families, and teachers. And so every day that I wake up, I must say that I'm blessed to be here. I know that I'm not here by chance, and I will continue to say God's will be done. Amen. So I just want to thank you and thank our entire leadership team. You know, we're moving, we're doing things. We're going to continue to do things, and we're going to continue to fulfill the purpose. And I know that I cannot do that without you. So I want to thank you.
Actually, when you interviewed for the position, you said you have to know your why. And you have made that so clear of your why here, to do what's best. And you always say babies for our babies, but you have actually shown that in everything that you do. You have selected a very, very great team. We have great principals and teachers. We just have so many good people here at Bedford. And I just want to say, I appreciate you and everything that you have done. I don't want anybody to steal you, because we need you. And I just look at all the accomplishments that you have had these last couple of years that we can actually see and speak on and present to the communities and all the things that's working for the best of our children. Thank you for your why, and thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, and I look forward to working with you till the end of my term, and just seeing all these things that we have talked about, all the things that you're putting in place, and just working together as a team. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that this is. I don't know if anyone else has anything.
Congratulations, because as I said, it's the will of the board. One vote is only one, and that's it. And we do speak, and we know how. However, I want to say it's about accountability and moving forward. Just a not yet doesn't never mean a not ever. So just so that we are clear that it was just a not yet, but it does not mean not ever. And support does not just mean always applause and accolades and applauses all the time. So, and celebrations. Sometimes it is the opposite of that, and it does not mean that there is not support. So,
Absolutely. I will say, again, I respect each vote. I've always shared that at the end of the day, I'm here as a kid advocate first. So when I took on this role, I was very open about who I am and who I serve. And I shared, and I will continue to say, that I will not compromise my integrity, my faith, my spirituality, or my family. And the day that I have to do that, I can't accept a yes vote. And I think we all stand in shoes that are meant for us. So if your vote is yes, your vote is yes, your vote is no, your vote is yes and yes, I accept that. And I've always said to this board, the day that it's a no, I'm not gonna fight you, because I'm here for his purpose. So when he says I'm done, I'm done. And so I worry about things beyond here and the now, and I know a lot of times people don't understand that. And I have to look forward to when my time is not just done here in Bedford, but when my time is here on earth, that someone can look before me and say, your job is well done. All right. So I accept that. I do, I really do.
I will say that since I started in January, it's definitely been a pleasure. Anytime I reach out, or I need a meeting, or I got questions, or anything, even at 9 o'clock at night, I'm like, I'm so sorry. But you've been just what you stated that you would be, especially when I had my first meeting with you. You laid everything out, and you have not deterred from that. So I'm excited for my term to be continuously working with you to see where our district can go. We've got a lot to do within the next 4 years, so, and I'm excited to be able to do that beside everybody up here. So, thank you.
I want to say I've been in the district for a long time working with them, and I've seen some people who were here for years and years and years who maybe shouldn't have been here. The time that I've known you, I think you've done a wonderful job. I'm really proud of you. I really haven't received any bad comments about you. And I just want to say, whatever you're doing, continue. Because Bedford is not here anymore. Now it's here. And we want you to get it here. And the way you're going, that's where you're going to get it. So just continue doing what you're doing and we love it.
Yes, definitely, you've done a great job so far. There's definitely room for improvement within the district, but you are making great strides. We're moving in a positive direction, and I know change does not happen overnight, so I appreciate the steps we are doing, and I look forward to what we can do. I'm grateful that you are open to suggestions and constructive criticism at times, but it's all just to make us better, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it. And one thing I do want to address in terms of my contract and the timing of my contract. I know this is recorded, but I know some people might not be happy in the house that I live in. But the timing was of essence, because you talked about negotiations. I don't believe that it's appropriate for the superintendent in the district, who is also seen in the state of Ohio as the fiscal agent in the district, to continue to take raises when I am cutting positions as required to ensure that we do not have to go back to voters sooner than later and ask them to operate this district based on tax dollars. So though I know some superintendents might have said, let's push this out, but I came and we worked and I asked you to give me a pay cut as a message of faith and sincerity and dedication to you in this district and my staff. Because how can I look my teachers in the eye and tell them, we can't do this and we can't do that, if I'm not willing to do it myself? So I understand that it's not the norm, it might not be cute, but that's what we gotta do. And if I gotta start that movement, then that's what it takes. So I wanna be able to look at my staff and say, I didn't take a raise, I'm gonna give it to you. I know that a lot of the individuals that work in this district live in this district, and they're paying taxes in this district. So it's hard for me to take money off their tables and not take some myself. So that is why the time and the essence was now before we vote on a contract. Because I want to send a message of good faith to my staff, my students, my families, and the entire community, because I know how they felt about the bond. I know how they feel if an operating is going to come. So that is why the time was now, to be honest.
I'm just gonna stand up.
district. You are for everybody that's under this umbrella. And so for you to put that out there, is much appreciated. Like you said, your household may not be happy, but you're
husband's just
showing, right.
My husband just called.
Right. But you're showing everyone that what you're trying to do is starting at home, literally. And so for you to be that transparent is very, like, I don't think anybody else would ever do that. Or even put their business out there like that, so I appreciate it. Transparency is always important, I appreciate that.
So I want to say congratulations. I know that we've had some tough conversations. It's been rough on all of us, but I think the importance is pivoting and knowing when it's time to pivot. And we've had these conversations about how we operate with the funds that we have. And I know you've had some hard decisions to make, and you will have more to make. But I do want to say congratulations.
Well. Oh, do we have any more? Always wonder about it. But Daniela, do you always have something to share for the month?
Oh,
I'm just going back to your business.
as far as updates, I did go to Walton Hills last week, as a part of our community engagement meetings that are starting up for the year. We'll be having it every single community, if you weren't aware. And the first one was in Walton Hills last Thursday evening. And I will say a lot of questions came out. I thought it was a very good meeting. It went pretty well. Sam was there with me to kind of also direct some of the questions. He didn't have to answer a lot, but more so was able to back up some of the information that I was providing. I will say, as some of the questions, of course, majority was the bond. However, a lot of the questions that were preceding what the community really wanted, the presentation that I put together really kind of diverted some of that, because it provided information that may have been misinformation that was being put out, that it gave some true factual details. So thank you to those that, Tabby was on it, Dr. Johnson, and later you were able to provide me some of those details. Fortunately, I couldn't find the construction one, but you were able to give me those details. Tag gave me the visioning plan. So having that information ahead of time really helped. Will say some of the questions that came up, and Tabby for one, is there an oversight finance committee that would be in place as far as overseeing the money? Because there was a question that the bond is not paying, is going to be paying for people's salaries, it's going to be paying for other things outside of the facilities. And I really drove in that there was a $13 million pull down, it's going to pay construction, pre-stuff that needs to be done, and that it's only because the auditor in the state of Ohio is following every dollar that that money can only be spent on the facilities and the bond, as far as the bond is concerned. So they still were asking, because of that, they wanted to ask, is there a finance committee or oversight committee that is in place, or could it be established? My response to that was, I don't know of one being established. However, you do have a finance committee, as well as the community as a whole, we've been in these visioning and master planning conversations, are gonna kind of play a part in that, and as well as the district leadership team. So correct me if I'm wrong in that, but that was one of the questions that was brought to the table.
Correct, yes, we do have the finance committee, and that is tailored based on the items that you guys present to me throughout the quarter. So, I usually work with Mrs. Boyington, the vice president and president, to decide what's gonna be presented at those finance committee meetings. So the answer, I guess, is yes, we have a finance committee, and you are correct. Tad's not here, but yeah, the vision and kind of addresses the other side of it.
Okay.
So the monthly report is part part of the written plan. But it also, there's a cash balance that's required to be submitted to the board monthly as part of the written plan, which would also kind of provide that fiscal oversight of the funds, yeah.
And any of this, is not posted on the website, or can anything be found in the treasurer's page as it pertains to when the money is pulled? Just asking, don't know for confidentiality if that can't be, but.
So when it does, I do plan to continue to post items. We are in the last time we met, we're in that same period. We haven't made it to the actual drawdown. We're still in the band anticipation note period. Also, there is a monthly financials section that's coming. We're trying to tailor those reports to make sure that they're transparent. So I have met with a few board members who I gave to kind of review it, give me some feedback. I don't want to post anything that's not clear for the community to understand. So I'm working on making sure that that report is transparent and not, to me it probably makes sense, but I don't want to put something out that just confuses people more. So that will be posted coming very soon.
Okay. I appreciate the bond process slideshow that you sent. I don't know if that's posted on the website.
That is on the website. Any presentation that I've done at a board meeting is on the website.
Okay.
And that, since probably like October, I also send that to the community, each community, so that they can share it with their community. I will continue to do that. So they might post it. I'm not sure how, but they might post it as well to their community members.
Another question that came.
And who do you send those to? I think that's very important, and I wanna just say that. Oh,
Go ahead. No, go ahead, answer.
Who are those going to? Because, and I need to say this because, our community engagement, board community engagement is set up so we can build better relationship with the community and to update the municipalities on what's going on. And I know that probably everything you had on your slideshow is either on our website or has been presented at board meetings. So it's not like it's not there and has not been presented or has not been sent to the municipalities. So I think we need to be very clear, as the council president of Oakwood came tonight, to just let you know, we're sending out information, we're providing some information. I don't know what happens to it, so I'm just letting you know, because you're here tonight, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate another council person as well, that we are trying to be as transparent as possible. Our meetings that we're having in the various municipalities is an opportunity to build a relationship and an update on the facility, academics, everything that's going on in the school. That is presented at our board meeting or on our website, but it's just another opportunity to get the communication out. So, Ms. Armstrong, who do you send those to?
So I can't tell you the exact, I can follow up and let you know, but I will say originally it was to the individuals that submit the request to be notified, and then it was actually Dr. Johnson's suggestion that I just send it to all 4 municipalities every time instead of just the request. And I probably will regret saying this, but any individual can send a request to be on the list, to be notified. So if you request to be notified, then I will add you to usually, I send it to the people on that list.
To be clear with the municipalities, is that maybe like clerks?
Everyone is a little different, it just depends on how they're set up, but we can confirm that, and we can even see if they want me to send it to a different email address to make sure that it's being, distributed throughout the whole community.
So what I wanted to add to that, because I know you were going there, because that was once again something that came up, and I did have to apologize on behalf of the district. We made a miss, because they feel that, well, Walton Hills, that the information, when it came to the bond, that it was a little late. That they didn't get all the information until, especially the ballot language, until it was about to be on the ballot. So, I know, and I indicated, we have had board meetings, we have it on the website. However, it was still a miss somewhere. People are saying they didn't get the information, we missed somebody somewhere. So, and that's what it can happen, right?
Yes.
And that's why I said we are here now, to be sure that we are creating those relational ties. So let me add, Tabby, that Walton Hills has 2, and Dr. Johnson, for everybody else, he's especially Tab, putting out information. Walton Hills has 2 printed materials that they use cycle through the district. There's a journal, the Walton Hills Journal, and then there's the Walton Hills Owl. we can, when we have information that needs to be distributed, I mean, and that goes to every director, if you have something you wanna put in, reach out, I believe Mylan and Jennifer, the council president, one of those, Jennifer Allen, she's one of the editors on the Owl. I'm not sure who's on the journal, but making sure that we're at least trying to get into their publications so that people in that community tend to read things more so than going to find something on a website. So putting that was one of the issues of concern, a big issue of concern. But once again, telling them that we're repairing that relationship to move forward with more communication. The last biggie, refresh my memory if I haven't, did I hit every? As it pertains to the docs, that's what it was. Yes, stuff is on the internet, but they didn't know how to navigate our website. And I told them it's been updated. We're trying to create more user-friendly information, but directed them to how to get to the board docs, directed them how to view our meetings live, because I said, come to a board meeting, in person or online, you can attend, so I directed them to that. And then, additionally, they wanted to, the OFCC reports. There's a link on there, but it's not active. Okay, so they were saying making sure that whatever we have there can it please be up to date. So I want to say those were like the big things, other than, our district is striving, and I told them that. I said, yes, we have improved from a 2 to a 3. Thank you, Kenya, for that information on where we are as far as the last August report. They still had a concern. A 3 is average, and that's not good enough. And like I said, excellence is where we're driving and going to, or striving to. So we're on the right path, and we are trending up if you go from a 2 to a 3 district overall, as well as individual buildings like Ms. Lewis building, the high school, Central, and Columbus, who had increased just at their building levels. So I want to just make sure that they understood that, because they had an issue of, well, the district isn't what it used to be. Well, the district is not going to be the way it used to be because we are moving into 21st century learning as well. So,
Times have changed, people have changed.
exactly.
But, and it also. it's
State
baby
requirements have changed as well.
That too.
That's where
all
people
that.
are not knowing what's
That.
happening.
Which drive in more of the
Yes.
reason why the new buildings, having state of the art, having
So
energy
important.
efficiency, having all of these things. And last but not least, when it comes to facilities, their big issue was community buildings. We're losing Glendale, we're losing Carrollwood, we're losing Central. The big question was, have we evaluated the impact of what losing community buildings would do to those specific areas who are losing buildings, such as that Glendale area, the Central area? So that was a question. I did in turn respond to that as in we evaluated what's gonna best be for our children. Continuity across the district, having all resources in the same building, health, wellness, and safety, and belonging. So that was how I answered that particular question, but wanted to pose it if that is something, I didn't know if we specifically did some research survey or analysis, but that was one of the questions, including with the demolishing of the buildings. Central, the last question was, have we talked to the Bedford Historical Society to see about that Central being a century building, and are we even allowed to tear it down? So, that's what the view of the community has asked. So if you have questions, you don't have to necessarily, I guess, answer this now. However, I said I would bring our questions back to the board, and then I will go back with other answers if there's more than how I already did it. So you all can let me know if you want to speak to something now, you can. But other than that, you can kind of just follow up with me and let me know. So when I go back, May 25th is the next meeting.
It would be nice, I was gonna say, I didn't know if there's a way that if you could, I don't know if we should share Google Doc, we need to questions come up. So it could be more of a frequently asked questions.
Yes.
And then we can post that, on our community page. I can't disagree that our website, because I know Jamie, you've had meetings, they've been meeting about that, Paul, you guys have been meeting, Aylin's been meeting, so they've been meeting about that. Even GPD had some, very important feedback for us, because they too promised to get information out, and it's not easily accessible. So they are working on the, website, so I think things like this, as you're out in the community, these questions come up, it'd be nice to say, this was the question, and these are the answers, and then we can just keep a running list, so that anybody, even if they're not able to attend your sessions, they can see what the answers to those questions are, what kind of questions came up.
I can start that since I have
That'd
the
be
first
nice.
level of questions, so.
And then if we could have access so that the executive directors can go in.
Add it to everybody,
Okay.
yeah, I'll just
Yes.
share it to everybody as editors,
Thank you.
including, Jamie.
What was that? OFC?
The OFCC information, anything around buildings, if it's a link on there, let it be active, so, because it's a lot of questions, because they wanna know, what are we getting for our money? If we're paying the highest taxes, what are we getting? I forgot, the adult programs, remember that was brought up. They were saying back in the day, there used to be adult programs, things that were provided, if we're having these state-of-the-art buildings and whatnot, one lady said, I wanna cook, so can we do a cooking class? So they want is there something that the community can be a part of utilizing? And I even said that came up in the master planning conversations, is that how can we also bring the community into our buildings in these spaces? So, just throwing that out there, I told them I don't know if there's something on the record. I did bring up Esperanza though, that is something that we are doing as far as creating educational programs for adults, because the parents are also being able to learn English as a second language. So I threw that out there as something that we are currently doing. But once again, just posing it to see if that's something we could talk about moving forward with new buildings, providing some type of something.
Yep, thank you.
And then, I guess, I know I've been talking for a long time, but I always do my monthly celebrations. And I just wanna put that it is, Stress Awareness Month. I know in my last newsletter, last newsletter had a wellness tip. Spring is trying to spring a little bit, but on those days that we do have sun, get vitamin D. We live in the northeastern hemisphere of the state, the northeastern hemisphere of the nation, where we do not get sun for at least almost 6 months. So, and it can create SAD, which is an actual disability, and many, especially Black women, suffer from. So, in the northern hemisphere. So, get vitamin D. Get out in the sun, sit in it, take some deep breaths, do some breath work. That will help with stress. And do something fun that you like. We did a painting thing, and that was very nice before the spring break. So Stress Awareness Month, also Autism Awareness Month. Autism Awareness Day was just 2 days ago. So we had a presentation on what we're doing to support children of our who are not neurotypical and are very able and doing so many things and are awesome children. So just disability awareness is very important and close to my heart. And so just want to give recognition to autism awareness. And there's some other things, but I thought those were very important. Oh, it's Financial Literacy Month too. So tax month in April. So I think maybe that could be even offering programs. When we talk about adult programs, financial programs would be great in our communities. Talking about something that we can help our municipalities with. Councilwomen, is maybe even having financial literacy nights in our communities, and that can help support our parents and students. So I'm gonna shut up for the rest of the night.
I ain't gonna say much. She said enough for everybody. I know you did. No, just something that's near and dear to my heart. Something near and dear to my heart. This month on the 28th, Special Olympics. I am so excited about it. Me and both of my boys will be volunteering. So there are, the QR codes are on our social media in order for adult volunteers and for our student volunteers. We are definitely in need of volunteers. Every phone call, every conference call I'm on with them, they're like, we need volunteers. So I'm sure that we have high school students that need community service hours for graduation. If we can get our football teams out there, our basketball teams, our track teams, we need to get everybody to come and definitely help support, I'm gonna call them our grown babies and little babies. And, I mean, this is an exciting year that our district is actually hosting it, so, Mr. Polsky is actually over it, and she's so overjoyed, so let's definitely support our school district to make sure we have a very successful, Special Olympics.
I just want to ask Ms. Carter, because I'm one too, and of course I didn't have the information in front of me, but you don't recall someone, I forgot. But I do want to know, can we just do hours and not the entire day?
Yeah, you don't have to be there the entire time, so it's from 7:30 to 4, but like 7:30 to 8, I think is registration coming in, but you don't have to be there the whole time. On the volunteer form, it asks what hours can you be there, and if you have any, limitations or anything like that, that's going to stop you from being able to like stand up a long time. So there are different options available and different time frames. You don't have to be there the whole time.
All right, that's good to know.
And what did they get this morning?
Yes.
So I know that it is on, there's a QR code on social media. Is it on our website yet?
Yes, I thought it was at the bottom.
It may be on there, I couldn't remember, but I know I've had it, but I can't email it out, if you're in need for it, but I know that the QR codes are on, our social media, and I wanna say on our webpage, I think I've seen it, but don't quote me on the website, but it is there. But make sure you click on the right one, there's a student one, and there's an adult volunteer one, so make sure we click the right one for that.
Don't forget the foundation.
Yeah.
Night of the races. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you win some, you lose some. I lost some. A lot. But it's $50 and you get very good up there. They have a very good table setting. There's cheer juice. And it's a lot of fun. It's $50. It's April 27th at 6 o'clock at Winkin' Lizard. Not in the front Winkin' Lizard, in the back, in the party hall in the back. It'll be there. So anybody want tickets, I have tickets, or you can go online and get them, or whatever. It's $50 a person.
I did want to mention that I gave you the email warden.
You said what?
They want us to.
I've attended the last 2 years, it's fun. It's a nice time.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Okay.
They have-
Well, ask for it too,
No, I can't.
but I will be attending, and I'm just saying I did get that.
Yeah, I'm attending. I'm last Wahoo for a year.
All righty. What a good night. A lot. Then you'll drink my water
Very
too.
productive.
I need it. It's been over. Look,
Anything else, board? Anything else? No? Before I go to item number 10, thank everybody for coming out. We will see you in 14 days. I always get the date wrong, so now I just say 14 days.
It is the 18th.
It is April 18th. Please come out and get more updates of what's going on in that city school district. So, item number 10, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? It has been moved by Mr. Birch and second by Mrs. Macklin. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Turner Birch? Mrs. Macklin? Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Thank you. Board.
I know.